Hello, welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today, I am lucky to be joined by Sue Webb of Corktree Creative. How's it going, Sue?
It is great. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. Sue, I would love to. I checked out the website. You guys have a cool looking agency. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your background and also your agencies.
Okay. Well, I actually was a client of my agencies for many years. I was on inside marketing. I was a director of marketing and communication for a large health system, and they were our agency of record for years. And I had found them. I really liked them. They were very easy to work with, and we really clicked. And so, fast forward to COVID and working nonstop for a health system and a very long commute. And I called them up and said, "Hey, what do you think?" And so they brought me on as their strategist. So I did the opposite of what most people do. I went from inside marketing with a health system. And before that, I was with different organizations to the agency side. And it's
Wow.
been great. So it gives me a cool perspective because that's not typical. And so when we meet with clients, I understand the business side of it and how
Yeah.
that all works with what they're doing. And a lot of, especially in large organizations, they're very departmentally siloed. And so I spend a lot of time saying, talk to IT about this and how it integrates with this and getting buy in from other departments when they're trying to do marketing. So it's been great. So about our agency is a lot of people say that they do end-to-end marketing, that they do everything, which we do marketing, PR, everything. What we like to call ourselves is fractional CMOs because we go in, look at the big picture, try to come up with strategies, what they need, maybe where they're missing the mark, and then creating whatever we need to around that. So a lot of times people will come to us for a website or PR work or whatever it is, and we'll do those things, but we really want to sit with them and say, okay, well, what's the purpose of this, and how does it work with this, and how does it work with your sales team, your sales pieces, all of those things. So that's a bit about us.
Yeah. Wow. What an interesting story. You were saying that, and actually, that's how I came onto this agency too. The other way though. They were a client of my. I used to work at a lead gen agency, and so they were a client. And then my agency got sold, and then they were like, "Hey, we have a spot here," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it. That sounds pretty cool." So I know it's a unique story, but that's pretty cool that we both have that. And for you guys, your mission is to turn marketing challenges into successes. And I guess I'm
Mhm.
curious. What's your approach to transforming a client's current strategy, and what do you think is the key to creating a truly impactful marketing plan?
That is a big question. I would say for us is really identifying who their audience is. And I know that sounds very basic,
Mhm.
but a lot of times it's very hard to think outside of the bottle. And so when we go inside to an organization
Uh,
and look at them, they tell us all these things that are great about what they do
mhm.
and who they want to reach, all of that stuff, but they're too close to it. And so for us, I think that we're very good at going in and saying, okay, these are all the great things that you do. What is actually leading your company and what direction do you want to go? And then let's figure out who that target is and then tailor what we're doing directly to that target. So we do a lot of storytelling, we do a lot of research. We're very data driven. And I think that most agencies are all of those things. The other thing, talking about setting us apart, is we are uniquely responsive. We respond very quickly. And so that's been a real advantage that we have. And I think because we're women owned, we're veteran owned, we're all ages of women. We have a couple of guys, but we're mostly women from 22 to almost 60. And I would
Wow.
be the top of that end. That mostly consumers, especially when it comes to something that's consumer driven, like healthcare or utilities or things like that, they're driven by
Mhm.
women. And so we
I
can
see.
speak to that
Yeah.
really.
No, no, I love that, and it's, super interesting that you guys do one of the things that, like, it's the simple stuff that scales with an agency, so, like, something like a quick response time there are a lot of clients that are coming from agencies, big AORs
Mhm.
that don't have that from their agencies, and they're paying them millions of dollars a year. So that type of simple
Exactly.
stuff really scales, which I love. And that's super cool that you guys are doing that. Super cool that you guys are women led and owned. We are too, which is,
Yeah.
I think we need to see more of that. And you're right. I'm one of the few guys here.
We treat them very well. We really
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. I get treated well here too. It's great.
and we have about 15 people. The nice thing about it is, in fact, I took a call this morning. I actually picked up the phone, which I don't normally do. And the person was asking questions. They wanted the person. I was like, you know what? I'm a strategist. Maybe I can help you with that. And I think that our owners, we have two women that are owners, and they really lead by doing and being involved in it, even though we have all these other things going on, but they are teaching internally how to handle the client because they're quick to answer a question.
Yeah,
We don't make people go through a lot of layers.
yeah,
And I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah,
As
yeah.
the client, I really liked it because I could pick up the phone and be like, hey, I need an answer to this. And they're like, yeah, no problem. What is it? So
Awesome. Wow. So you've seen the marketing world evolve significantly over your career. How have digital advertising and SEO changed the game for agencies, and what strategies are proving most effective in today's landscape?
mhm. Well, it's interesting. I started in marketing before there was really any digital component to it at all. People would have a brochure website page, and that would be it. And it didn't matter what the organization was. And so the evolution of that has it's really impacted everything that we've
Yeah.
done. And so from a very high level of understanding that a lot of people that are my age that are owners of companies and final decision makers, we've those people have come a long way with their knowledge of digital,
Oh,
but they might not necessarily understand it very well. And
yeah.
I would say for us, it's not so much the tools, but conveying to the clients the importance of really driving and utilizing digital as much as you can. So
Yeah.
as far as the decision making and getting to the point to get someone convinced that they need to do something in a way that they haven't done before, I think with those of us that are here that are older, we're able to have that conversation of, okay, I understand it because we did this. We all did paper, we all did
Yeah.
ads and all of that kind of stuff. But we're not doing that anymore because
Yeah.
this is why, because we can track it and we can see the results that we're getting from what we're doing, and it costs a lot less expensive. It's a lot less expensive. So that's the first part of it. I think as far as what's the most successful is we really believe in if we come in with a new client that there has to be some combination of organic and paid. Really good at SEO. We're great at SEO. And if you come in and we say, okay, that your SEO is long game, that's what's going to get you to point from point A to point B, but it's a long game. So we need to do some digital advertising, some paid in here someplace so that we can build that up. And we can also get a better idea of who your audience is just by who's clicking through and what that demographic is and where they're at and what zip code they're at and all of those things. I would say it's a combination of both of those.
Wow, I love that. And it's there's a I think a lot of companies do SEO, and there's a lot of companies that are dedicated to doing SEO, and it
Mhm,
seems like it's a part of your mix, but it's something
mhm,
that you guys do really well, which is such a
mhm.
need, and it's becoming even more and more of a need, especially with these algorithm changes that are happening
Yes,
all the time. It's something that companies, it's if you're gonna hire inside to do that, it's really hard to hire somebody to it's much easier for an agency that has the tools and
yes,
those tools can get pretty expensive, as I'm sure you know. So
yes.
having a partner that takes care of all of it for you is pretty cool. You mentioned, and this was off camera, but the ideal client is someone who's passionate about their product and willing to trust the process. What does
Yes.
that trust look like in practice, and how does it contribute to creating successful campaigns?
Good question. I think it has a lot to do with the relationship between the account manager and the person that's on the inside. A lot of times, what we find is that they get to a certain point and they may hire one person on the inside to manage their marketing, but they may or may not be educated or trained in that area. And what we've found is if we have a relationship with someone on the inside that has some knowledge of what we're doing and can speak to it and can speak to the leadership or allow us to speak to the leadership, we have a much better chance of success because of the trust factor. And I think that's something that agencies all deal with. I think we
Mhm.
all deal with that is, and we always say it's the long game. This
Yeah.
this isn't going to happen overnight. You have to trust us with the process. And if the trust isn't there, then it's really hard to succeed. The clients that do allow us to work our magic and do what we need to do to make it successful, it goes really well. A lot of times people don't know what they need.
Mhm.
And you know that. They don't know. They think this is what we need to do. We're gonna make this website. And we're like, great, we can make a website, but you got to get people to it. So how are we gonna
Yes.
do that? Huh.
That's absolutely true. And we've noticed the agency landscape shift so dramatically over the past 10, 15 years. I mean, it was very popular.
So much.
Everybody was starting an agency 5, 6 years ago. Now everybody's starting a lead gen agency to get meetings
Yes.
for the agency, right? So you kind of see these things. But a lot of trust was lost in that regard because people came into it thinking that it was easier than it actually is. And
Mhm.
the trust is looking at your clients as partners rather than people that just pay
Yes.
you for a solution. I
Mhm.
think those are the ones who made it through the tough times of
Yes.
maybe COVID and those types of things when everybody was trying to contract a little bit. So that's really cool that you guys take those steps and make sure that it's drilled down even at the account manager level,
Yes.
that they can do that. And so, as someone who's worked across sectors from energy to government to nonprofits, what are some of the main differences in approaching marketing for each? And are there common elements that like tie their successful strategies together?
Absolutely and absolutely. So I would say that we do a lot of healthcare also. So let's just start with healthcare. Healthcare has a lot of regulations with
Mm,
digital marketing. And so we're very versed on that. We understand HIPAA really well, and we sign BAAs. We're sensitive to that. So those clients of ours, like health systems and hospitals, and anything that's ancillary care surrounding healthcare that touches healthcare in some way, they are very hesitant with
yeah,
digital. They weren't, and
yeah,
now they are. And successes for them look a lot different. And creating solutions for them to be able to actually do digital advertising, which we've done, and making sure that it stays in a compliant package is really important to them. So for them, what's important and reaching their client or reaching a patient is more about compassion, care, and being a steward of who their target audience is. So that's healthcare. Then we talk about energy. Energy is really tricky because there's people that cannot afford health or cannot afford their energy. And so we work a lot with all of the energy saving things that people can do. That's our big area also. And that patient or that client is very similar to the healthcare client, even though they don't have the HIPAA compliance stuff,
yeah.
because they're trying to be stewards to good energy and creating
Mhm,
sustainability and lower costs in that area. So those would be those two. Government, very similar,
mhm.
and with nonprofits, but with government, they have a very finite budget, and they're very concerned about transparency and that information. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here. I know that you're with me on this journey of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then the fourth with nonprofits, same thing. They really have budget constraints. And so we really try to work with them on that. So as far as what's their best thing, always having a solid website. If you're trying to pull people in, making sure that your SEO is just on point. Digital advertising is very different for each of those sectors. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that definitely does. And yeah, we seem to be in a lot of the same sectors for, I think, for
Mhm.
different services. And so
Mhm.
we've definitely run into a lot of that as well. And I know that digital advertising is highly competitive. What advice would you give to clients looking to maximize their digital ad efforts, particularly in those niche or underserved markets?
I think that's a great question. Having a digital partner that really looks at the data and just doesn't set it up. And I always say, if you have somebody that you meet with for digital advertising and they talk about impressions, that's not a conversion. So
Yeah.
let's talk about conversions and how we can track the conversion. It's really hard because it's so complicated as we meet with Google every week or every other week. And it's really, and one of the other people on my team, the two of us are the Google people. And It changes all the time, and it's accelerating so quickly, and we're in it every day.
Yeah.
And so I guess my advice would be find somebody that's certified, that understands it, and understands the target market also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great. And it's one of those things I think you learn as if you're on the client side, if you are a business owner, it's okay to delegate that type of stuff. It's okay to let some experts handle it so they can help grow you. As long as you can find somebody that you like, know, and trust, they're having them stay on top of all of that is such a relief, and letting go of that a little bit of that control. I think knowing enough as a business owner to be dangerous is
Yes.
good and healthy, but letting the
And
experts.
dangerous.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That too. Finally, reflecting on the future, where do you see Corktree Creative headed, and are there any industry trends or shifts that you're particularly excited about as you guys continue to grow the agency?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is that we understand that because marketing is, we always say this, marketing is a mile wide, and you can only have so much depth of knowledge with that if you only have one person on your team and it's an internal person. And so for us, we always say we're giving you all the way down and that mile wide, because we're giving you expertise in all of these areas that it's just impossible for one or two people to have that.
Uh,
And so really trusting that that the client has to outsource those services. It's not because their team isn't capable, it's that their team doesn't have 15 people on it that are all experts in each of those niche areas of marketing. So that's the first thing. As far as where we are going, I think that's a big, that I would say that's what it is, that we can fill a lot of needs and we can anticipate things that are coming up. We watch, well, our team watches the Google algorithm changes like it's the Super Bowl. Like when one's coming out, we're like, okay, it's out. Okay, what's happened? What are we doing here? What do we need to change about what we're doing? So that's cool. And then as far as the innovation, which is not necessarily, it is where we're moving, but it's where we're all moving, is the power of AI and what we can do with it, and how our efficiency, we're much more efficient in some ways. Our SOPs, our standard operating procedures, are in place, but now we can utilize AI to help us clean that up even more and make us more efficient for the client, which in turn they save money.
yeah, wow, I love that. Exciting times ahead for
It
Corktree Creative.
is. It is. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
We're a
sure.
fun
It sounds
agency.
like it. That's great. Well, this has been awesome, Sue. Where can people find out more about you? Where can people find out more about your agency?
So we're creative.com is our email. My name is Sue Webb and I am in St. Louis. So if anyone links with me, that is where you can find me. There's only about 750 million Sue Webbs out there, but I'm Sue Webb in St. Louis.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on. Like I said, this is awesome and enlightening. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah.